Hello, I'm Peter Martin, founder of Peach 2020, the international community for senior executives, entrepreneurs and influencers from across the hospitality sector. Now, welcome to a special innovation issue of our Top Table series of podcasts, broadcast here from the Brewdog in Bar studio in Waterloo in London. Today, my guest is a former city fund manager turned tech entrepreneur who has a focus on and fascination with the hospitality market. 8 years ago, he founded Vita Mojo and he remains its CEO. He is Nick Popovici. Welcome, Nick.
Hi, everyone.
So, Nick, why turn your back on a successful and presumably lucrative career in finance, and then why tech and why hospitality?
My wife asks me that question all the time as well. Why did you give up really being overpaid and having a cushy job in the city of London? Truth be told, this started because I had some health issues. I ended up going from doctor to doctor and no one knew what was wrong with me. But I changed my diet and had a pretty strict diet for about 2 years, which changed my life. And in that process of getting better, and eating out and trying to find out what allergens in everything. And this is more than 10 years ago, where allergen are sort of information that is now commonplace to find on menus did not exist. And I was really struggling to eat out, and I couldn't help but see an opportunity for technology to play two roles, like it did for most industries, whether it's transportation, music, etc., to make the guest experience better and to improve the operational efficiency for the business. So I left finance to fulfill a passion. Really came from my need to serve and to help, which I felt it was better placed to do that by giving an industry that needed technology than to give that technology or to use that technology to make some rich people a lot richer. So your first question was why I left finance. The second one was
basically why leave finance, why tech, why hospitality. I think you sort of I think you sort of answered that. So you created Vita Mojo, as I say, 8 years ago. In that time, I mean, the world's changed massively. But how's the business changed? How's the business evolved? Has your focus changed in that time?
So we started with, because we had no idea what technology would be useful for hospitality at that point in time, and anyone who spoke about in hospitality in 2014, 15 about, hey, got this idea, we're going to digitize the industry, they frankly told us to go where we came from and that we don't understand hospitality. It's in the name, hospitality, not technology or something like that, I was told. So we started our venture really by opening our own restaurants, our own QSR restaurants, a small chain of 3 locations plus a dark kitchen and a central kitchen. And in the process of operating that and cutting our teeth, we developed technology for ourselves that helped us solve some of the problems that we cannot solve with better people, better processes. So we've evolved massively, to answer your question, from a small chain, fast casual operator to a business-to-business partner of choice for hospitality businesses looking to digitize.
So if you're going back to those early days, I mean, what were the core jobs, roles, functions which you were able to digitize? I mean, what was the basic products? Where did you start, essentially?
Where did we start? That's a good question. So we started with orders placed over the phone. So the first thing that we looked at is people would want to place an order for pickup or for delivery. And the main way things were being done was phone. So it'd be like, we need this for office, we have an office party, we need this, they'll send you an email or call. It's like, well, online orders, this is, surely we can provide, what's your menu? Oh, what's in it? How many portions of that come in that, right? All these questions would come, and I was like, this is this is a lot of, we'd spend a person basically mostly being responsible for dealing with catering orders, delivery
Yeah.
orders, pickup orders, and the experience of getting complaints. It was like, well, you said that, but we received this and that. And I was like, well, just do what e-commerce has been doing in our industry and just put it online. Why don't we just put um, create a website, showcase our menu, allow people to buy and pay online like they do for any other service from the convenience of their computer or mobile phone. And that's how we started. So we started with the digital orders
Yeah.
online for pickup, delivery.
Which is now commonplace, but
Which
you
is
were
which
fairly
is yeah,
Yeah.
which I think the only business in the UK doing something like that, even like 2014, even supermarkets weren't really doing.
yeah,
I mean, Ocado was an example of a pioneering kind of business, cutting edge. Now everyone from Waitrose, Sainsbury's, Tesco, everyone does online delivery to ads on a regular basis for small orders, etc. And yeah, so we did that. We started with that. Then we realized that, hey, well, that surely the digital experience, which was getting rave reviews, was saving us, was augmenting the customer experience and making our business more efficient. We took that as a well, we put it in the restaurant. So
Yeah.
then we built kiosks. Again, we were seeing in supermarkets that people were willing. So I think Tesco, again, 2013, 14 was launching like self-checkout. I forgot which one was really
Yeah.
pushing the boundaries first. But like, well, we already built this online. Would it not work? And there's just test it out. What we can do, the worst that can happen is fail. Like, it's okay.
yeah,
We're here to fail fast. So that had good traction. But whenever we built it, we didn't think, oh, we must automate some labor. That's the primary reason of doing. We always thought there has to be a win-win. This is a core value of ours. There has to be a win-win. Like whatever we do, it needs to be a big win for the guests, a big win for the business. It
Yeah,
can't be
yes, yeah.
one or the other.
Yeah.
We cannot compromise on
Yeah.
that. We have to stick with it. And only when we're satisfied, it's a win-win, do we truly do a product.
yeah. So you're not imposing technology on customers, as some people think. It's a matter of what customers want in terms of making their life easier. Now, I mean, how did you get traction with that sort of fast casual, fast food market whereas you started and your first customers were? How receptive were they?
Yeah, so not very receptive initially because, yeah, frankly, the big mindset that was dominating kind of the industry at that point in time is hostility is by service. It's about service,
Yeah.
and technology is the antithesis of service.
Yeah.
So, there were some really brave, open-minded operators who were willing to experiment somewhere in a corner with it. This is early days. And that's how we got started. But most people were still like, well, yeah, we kind of have to do this to tell the CEO that we're doing something interesting.
Right. Yeah.
But because we know in 20 years from now, this will be the future. But surely it's a crazy idea now.
Yeah.
Only to find out that customers, when you give them a better experience than that augments what the humans are doing, they love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I can see the picture. I can see the allergens. I can see the provenance. I can see high fidelity photos. It's
Yeah.
like, this is quicker. Like when they end up experiencing, they loved it. And it's like, oh, well, maybe it's not that crazy. And slowly but surely things moved. I think a big turning point in the industry is when McDonald's decided, I think it's circa 2017, to introduce kiosks.
Yeah.
That were testing in some labs around the world, but to really start rolling out at speed through the UK and France. That was kind of the turning point of everyone in the QSR going, well, if McDonald's is doing it and succeeding, surely it's not a stupid idea.
Yeah.
And we saw a huge change in terms of the
Yeah.
mindset shifting.
Yeah.
Oh, kiosks, self-ordering, QSR is not It's not a crazy idea.
No,
Although
they're everywhere now, basically. Yeah.
and that's the reality.
And it's basically the same as using sort of an iPad like I've got in front of me now. Interesting that, because obviously things have changed really dramatically. So in fact now in sort of quick service world, fast food world, you can do anything really for consumer, almost automated, from ordering all the way through to delivery, almost without a human touch. Now, is that because that QSR, where you guys have played a lot, is all about more about product than the experience? Because this is the crux of the matter you were hitting on. You've got this tension in the market that actually, we don't want technology because it will ruin the experience. But what you're saying in fast food is that it makes the experience better because it makes it more efficient. But is that because it's about getting the food out quickly rather than necessarily the ambience of us having a nice Italian lunch together, which we did a few months ago?
Yeah. So for me, the conventional wisdom here says that, if it's more product led, it makes sense to automate to make it more efficient. It's not about the service, therefore, it makes sense to do it there, but it definitely doesn't make sense to do it where it's a high service led.
Yeah.
I respectfully disagree with that statement.
Yeah. Right.
Because having been around the block a few times, QSR also started thinking like that. Well, customers we're about hospitality. Yeah, we are efficient, but those touch points, human touch points, are so important, and we do not want to remove them. We want to be told, "Hey, how are you? That'll be $3.95. Thank you very much." Right? And I was hearing the same arguments from the QSR industry 10 years ago as the more casual dining or experiential led that I'm making today. And I don't believe it. I do believe it is true if technology is bad. But if technology is designed to augment what the humans are already doing, and this is a key differentiation, to augment, then technology is very welcome, both by the staff and by the consumers. If the technology is designed with the intention to replace the humans, then it is met with resistance, both from the staff and the consumers. So as long as you're augmenting what they had before, if you're using it as an opportunity to enhance, it'll be well received. If it's used as an opportunity to reduce and take, it'll be fought. So I do not believe it's just a QSR solution, but I do believe it's different.
Yeah.
So the way technology plays out in experiential led looks different, feels different, has a different role than in QSR. But I'm willing to bet everything, and I am, that other experiential led will benefit greatly by using technology to enhance than replace humans.
Having said that, do you believe that consumers' experience, because consumers don't just go to pubs, restaurants, they have a whole portfolio of places they go. So people go to fast food brands. Do you think the experience they're getting there, which is more digitally based, is going to influence what they expect when they say going to a casual dining restaurant or a pub or a bar?
For sure. And it's impossible for it not to impact that, even at the same generation. But if you look at the younger generations coming up, the under 30s, they live on a mobile phone, right? There's a remote control they have had in their hands since the early years of their lives, where they're used to experiencing the world through a digital device. It's almost inseparable. It's like a limb that.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean,
to take away someone's phone for a day and see how they feel.
Yeah, well, even I, my advanced years, still actually buy everything on here. All the apps I've got on here actually work. I mean, we took innovations obviously in your blood. That's why you do what you do, and Vita Mojo has been part of that advancing in technology. What are you seeing out there though? I mean, let's look at a broader market. Who's innovating at the moment? What good innovation are you seeing in the hospitality sector? And then we can come back to how it's affecting customers and teams. So what's good out there?
Yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff. Bits that really excite me, and this, I'm a geek, so warning. but it's really the transformation around data.
Yeah.
It's a pretty common thing. If I told you that Amazon uses data in a way to optimize its logistics, warehouse, and your buying experience, what to recommend to you, you'd be like, yeah, of course, it's Amazon. Like that's
and people are used to that.
and they're used to that, right? We're starting to see that. So we're providing the infrastructure and the tools for hospitality businesses to act like Amazon does.
Right.
This is not a comment on Amazon ethics. I'm just talking about how Amazon engages with data smartly to improve the value they deliver to customers, which is efficiency, price, etc. What the stock, how much the stock of it, etc. Where to place it in the country. So what's really exciting me is the challenge 10 years ago in the industry. Actually, the challenge 5 years ago in the industry was no data. You only had what your pause gave you, which was pretty limited data, which is how much you've sold of which item, how many transactions, etc. That is about, today it represents about 1% of the data the restaurants have access to when they have a modern tech stack. 1%. And 99% is generally hugely underutilized. But what excites me is seeing the operators that have raised to the challenge and started to engage with data in such a way that they make decisions about new product development, not based on sales, but how do they correlate what's happening in the kitchen and how it's easy to make in the kitchen, what's consistent to make in the kitchen with what customers are loving and coming back for, right?
Yeah.
And how now they have a 3D kind of view of their menu, not just which item sells the most, but which type of customers, regulars, newcomers, buy which product, and start tweaking the menu, the menu architecture, the pricing, in such a way to drive in customer behavior of coming more often, staying for longer, buying more products, etc. So that's really exciting for me to see.
And that goes back to what you're saying about it improving the customer experience. I mean, I suppose the other thing about data is, which in terms of having a database CRM, people have not necessarily historically invested in that in terms of using that as a marketing base, actually, because the fundamental surely is understanding more about your customer. And the more you understand about your customer, the better service, a better experience you can deliver. Is it that simple?
No. So the sad news, and I mean, I'd love to tell everyone that all you need is a great CRM and a person or team to look at the data, and you're gonna magically happen. The sad reality is that we are in such a beginning of the digitization journey of the industry.
Yeah, right.
The data lives on different platform. It's fragmented.
Yes.
You cannot correlate with the behavior of someone ordering on Deliveroo to ordering on, let's say, on a kiosk and when they order at the POS, ePOS with the person. You cannot get that single customer view because that information lives on different systems built by different people.
Yeah.
And even with the best data scientists in the world, it's just not possible. So that deep customer insight, it's easy for Amazon to do because they have one tech stack that runs it all, right? But when you have this fragmented tech stack or gaps in your stack that are not digital, then you cannot do it.
Yeah.
So,
well, isn't this one? There's a lot of issues in there. One is it possible to get down that, and how far can you go? I mean, you've got to improve them, bringing all those data sources together to get one view. But if you're going to do that, and you're almost implying that you've got to start with your tech stack and actually almost rethink that before you can do anything else. You've got to get that right. So you've got to do the basic preparation, which will put a lot of people off in terms of boards because that's big investment. Is that the right way of looking at it?
That is the right way of looking at it. It doesn't have to be a big investment, but because actually what we found in our experience is when people consolidate tech stacks and move to an end-to-end platform that is truly built as one platform, not patchwork of 3, 4 and marketed as one, they save money. So while it's daunting in the sense that there's some effort put into it, you have to run an RFP or talk to multiple suppliers, really make sure that they are what they say they are, check how it's going, and then you have to implement it. Yes, there's some pain, but if you zoom out and look at 2-year time scale, they'll be saving money, they'll be getting quality data and insights. And there's businesses that are like well ahead of this, right? So the business have been doing this for like last 3-4 years, and they are absolutely thriving and engaging, growing even in this environment.
Yeah.
Right?
So who is getting it right?
Ooh, I have to mention names.
Well, it depends if you want.
There's a lot of people that are getting it right.
Yeah.
But some of the ones they're doing, I think, an exceptional job is the Gales, right? So the way they've digitized, they realize that to really get that 3D, let's call it 3D insight about their customers, their sales, their operations, they need to go digital. And they moved away from, paper, stamp cards, and kind of like fragmented loyalty to an integrated loyalty, digital loyalty system, and leveraging that data, pulling all that data and pushing it into the CRM and starting to engage, run campaigns, and really have that single customer view. Is a great example. Leon has also done really incredible job and is in the process of migrating more into that section. But 2 years ago, they hired data scientists to start looking at that 99% of the data that is available but is being ignored, to leverage that in determining how to drive customer experience better, how to improve efficiency, etc.
Yeah.
Toast also has done a really good job at doing that, and more recently, Black Sheep Coffee. They're a company that forward thinking in many ways. They really pushed the boundaries of the tech stack, but they went about it in a fragmented way to find out 3 years down the line they're in a dead end, in the sense that with digital, but then 99% of it is mostly garbage because it's not actionable. It's not in the right place.
Yeah.
And even though they use the best data aggregator to put it all together to massage it, crap in, crap out. So
because you've got this issue. I mean, we talked about apps. There's a lot of apps for doing all sorts of things, whether it's ordering, whether it's booking, whatever, and you're getting data through. And obviously, the rate of change is massive. We've just talked about what's happened in 8 years since you're around, and it's probably even speeding up. What a lot of operators will say is, well, that's fine. We need to get a new tech stack. So what but how are we going to integrate the next app? If we want that's the best in class for our people management system. That's the best in class for order. How do we get that to work? Because integration's always the thing that people say, operators say, is the worst thing about technology. Because people say it should talk to each other, and invariably doesn't. So, how can you reassure them that they can get what they want, or can't they get what they want?
They can get what they want. I think the simplest way to think, there's 2 different schools of thought. There's the best of breed school of thought, and then there's the all-in-one school of thought. They're actually both right. Then both those things can coexist.
Yeah.
So the question is, which parts of the tech stack it makes sense to have a best of breed, and which parts of the tech stack you need an all-in-one? Because there's areas where if you fragment it, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
There's areas that if you fragment it, because best of breed, that is good, right? So it's a nuanced point, but it's a valuable point. So the easy way to think about it is an order management system, something that manages all the orders coming in from all the channels, no matter if it's so this is a platform that is both delivery focused, so Uber, Deliveroo, Just Eat, etc. in the UK, your own delivery, your own click and collect, app, kiosk, EPOS, and then kitchen management system. Think of that as an order management system, i.e. all the orders that can be taken no matter what the channel, in person, online, etc., and the making of those orders in time, and then passing that information to a courier or calling a driver or handing it to a customer having that in one place is not something you want to fragment. You fragment that data advantage, the ability to use data to make actionable insights of business goes out the window. But when it comes to, that's a all-in-one where that makes sense. Now, if you're looking about plugging the best-in-class inventory management or labor management bit, that makes sense. You can use a best-of-breed concept in that part of the stack where you can plug things that are not ultimately, they are connected, they'll be connected, but they're not fundamentally, they don't need to be cut from the same cloth, right? So that's the nuance I think that we're seeing in the industry, and all the businesses that have done that have really thrived and now have 4 less people at the head office dealing with integrations, data, menu changes, menu management. Like all those pain points don't exist because that's one menu.
So if we're looking, because obviously your experience and the biggest advances in tech and digital has been in fast food, and we've talked about that sort of journey. But if we look at sort of restaurants and pubs, is it what you're saying is perhaps some of the biggest savings, you just mentioned it, is it could be in head office, back of house, supply, rather than this focus, which a lot of people who are nervous about that technology is on that customer experience. Actually, it's the wraparound. It's actually the running of the business where you can use tech and data to be more efficient. Or am I being over?
No, that's it. Technology is technology is a bit like water, right? Like you can go anywhere. You'll
right.
Like you spill it, it finds the place to go into. So there's many places for technology to play a role, but you're absolutely right. It is that core infrastructure that it needs upgrading, right? We live in a world today, which is true, which is like EPOS centric, right? The world revolved around the EPOS, which was great 5 years ago, but the world's moved on from EPOS, right? There is so much more technology out there than the EPOS that by having that at the center of the business, you're limiting your ability to actually have a agile business, to meet weekly and monthly as a business, look at the data insights and make decisions about what to tweak to make it better. If your EPOS is at the center of your business, you're stuck in the past, right? Most places have 20-30% of sales are delivery. Right? I'm not referring to QSR. I'm referring generally to restaurant delivery or takeaway, right? That's a huge change, right? 5 years ago, 7 years ago, before delivery was a thing and Uber Eats existed, et cetera, 100% of the orders were 98% of the orders were in person, and 2%, if you're a curry house, whatever, there was some takeaway going on, right? And we had Just Eat and that, build a business based on those takeaway places. Now that business looks so different. So many 10, 20, 30% of the business sales are takeaway delivery orders. That is fundamentally a different business. It's not a marginal thing.
No.
So
even we're seeing sort of casual dining chains, even like Toby Restaurants has a massive,
huge
sort of delivery and takeaway, maybe more click and collect than delivery, but it's changed their business.
It's changed the business in a good way, but to serve that ever-changing customer, if you don't have the right infrastructure, augmenting the staff, what the staff are doing, augmenting the customer experience, it feels like hell.
Yeah.
And I walk into a lot of businesses and I can see terror in the eyes of the staff.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the tables are full. Just got a big delivery order. There's 5 people waiting to collect the order, and they're they're on ultimate stress, and that's because there's no capacity management inbuilt for them.
Yeah. But that's, in a sense, that's a sales pitch for tech, isn't it? Not necessarily for Vita Mojo, that actually tech can take away the strain and actually allow people to focus on that customer experience, that one-to-one customer experience which people are worried about. Now, you just talked about how much change we've had in 5 years. So looking ahead, and presumably you're still going to be driving Vita Mojo in 5 years' time, what's the industry going to look like, particularly in terms of the digital play?
I mean, it's only going to, from my perspective, and I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe this, it's a one-way street. Technology will play a bigger and bigger role. And it's not because I got a crystal ball, but if you look at every single industry that has digitized from 1990s onwards, aviation, it's only been a one-way street.
Yeah.
It's like, let's go to, it's only a one-way street, right? So, your phone on your desk, it's one of the more later versions, right? Like, it's not like we do a bit of technology, that's it, we're done. Everything else is going to stay constant. We're an ever-evolving species, an ever-evolving customers, an ever-evolving economy and policies. So the way I see it is technology plays a bigger and bigger role to augment the staff, to augment what the managers are doing, to augment the customer experience, not to replace. I do not believe in the doomsday scenarios, although we use AI and all that stuff that, AI and all this stuff is going to change, huge amount of people being made redundant, or I don't buy it. It hasn't been true since the Industrial Revolution. It wasn't true when computers and technology came around, and it's not true now that there's like the customer experience get digitized, right, or the back house gets digitized. So we tend to keep moving the jobs that humans do towards doing the most value add jobs and automating the mindless repetitive jobs that, by the way, the human didn't enjoy, nor did the customer enjoy. So let's take an example of an automation happening in QSR. No longer do customers, majority of places, wait in line to then speak to a human that only repeats what a screen tells them to place an order. That person presses like a series of buttons or scans a number of things so that that information is registered digitally, and then tells the customer thank you, right? The person operating that EPOS did not enjoy being a data entry robot. It didn't. The customer didn't enjoy waiting in line, the queue. Sorry, I'm trying to use a British term. Waiting in the queue, nor do they enjoy the volatile, the inconsistent experience they would get from a human there, right? Grumpy, tired, not paying attention. Some are nice and smiling, but ever so slightly, right? But now people use their own devices or a screen to see a beautiful experience to order and place an order. Is it perfect? No, but the staff now no longer spend the time doing a mind-numbing job. Now are either in the kitchen, or they are doing delivery, or they're in the front of house if they like talking to guests, being the host, welcoming people, etc. So that's an example of automation that did not result in a bunch of people being fired, but a certain job spec evolves from being mind-numbing to engaging. I didn't answer your question. What's the future has in store for us? AI is part of it, so I brought this up because AI is part of it.
Yeah.
But I think data, before we really start seeing AI in our industry, it still is just the engagement with data, leveraging data, using data to be present in the meetings. Not just, last week's sales we were up year on year. I mean, that's nice, but that's like driving, looking in the rearview mirror, right? And hoping to make the right turn ahead. Start looking at data that is leading indicators, giving you actionable insights about customer behavior. How many new customers did you get last week? Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting thing. What type of customers came? Oh, they were the power users. Oh, no, we got a lot of tourists. It's like, okay, that's an interesting one. So starting make data being part of every conversation. Operations department starts looking at data about productivity, about throughput, about error rates. New product development teams start looking into connecting customer data, unique data with the operations data to make decisions about how do they tweak a recipe? What do they put on the menu? What's missing? Right? And marketing starts leveraging all this rich data they have to start doing personalized marketing. So I think that's what the future, if it looked like 2-3 years out, is where the industry is turning towards. And already the leaders, and I mentioned some of them, are already deeply engaged into this, and they're doing a phenomenal job on that front. And I think as that becomes a norm, I think the next level is how to use AI to automate some of those things that they're done manually, and provide even deeper insights and agility into the decision making.
Exciting times is what you're describing, Nick. Look, fascinating conversation, and we could go on. But I think, in a sense, you've summed up how technology is going to be playing a much more important part of hospitality, but still keeping that fundamentals of hospitality by augmenting the experience. So for the moment, Nick Popovici, thank you very much, and thank you to our friends at Brewdog for hosting us today, and thank you to all you guys hopefully listening in. Until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you, Peter.